Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a really pointed chapter from Nietzsche's Zarathustra, one titled Scholars, where he critiques the academic world of his time.
This sounds fascinating. He starts with a strange little story about a sheep eating an ivy wreath from his head while he was sleeping. What's that all about?
It's a powerful opening metaphor. The sheep, representing a sort of simple herd-like thinking, eats his wreath and declares Zarathustra is no longer a scholar.
So the sheep, in its own way, is saying he's not one of the academics anymore. But Zarathustra doesn't seem offended by this, does he?
Not at all. He actually embraces it, saying, "So willeth my lot, blessings upon it." He has consciously departed from the house of the scholars and slammed the door behind him.
Why the dramatic exit? What was so wrong with the house of the scholars that he felt the need to leave so forcefully?
He says his soul sat hungry at their table. He found their methods of investigation, which he compares to nut-cracking, to be completely unsatisfying and restrictive.
Nut-cracking? So he's saying they are good at breaking down existing ideas into tiny pieces, but perhaps not at creating anything new or substantial.
Exactly. He contrasts their world with his own love for freedom and the air over fresh soil. He'd rather sleep on simple ox skins than on their honors and dignities. He describes himself as too hot and scorched with his own thoughts, needing to escape their dusty rooms. This is a key contrast he draws throughout the chapter. He says they sit cool in the cool shade, wanting only to be spectators. They actively avoid any place where they might get burned by real intense thought or experience.
So they're passive observers, not active participants. He has another great analogy for this, comparing them to people who just stand on the street and gape at passers-by.
Yes, and in their case, they are gaping at the thoughts which others have thought. They are purely reactive, waiting for ideas to come to them rather than generating their own. He really does. He has this fantastic image where he says if you grab them, they raise a dust cloud like a flour sack, but the dust isn't their own creation.
Precisely. And when these scholars try to present themselves as wise, he finds their petty sayings and truths to be chilling and lifeless, even smelling like a swamp.
He even says he's heard the frog croak in it. That's a pretty harsh critique, suggesting their wisdom is not just stale, but stagnant and unpleasant.
It is. He acknowledges they are clever and have dexterous fingers, meaning they are technically skilled. He compares their skill to threading, knitting, and weaving.
And with this skill, he says they make the hose of the spirit. What a strange phrase. Is he saying they create intellectual clothing or containers, but there's no actual spirit inside?
That's a perfect way to put it. They are good at creating the structures of thought, but they lack the vital spirit to fill them. They are like good clockworks.
He continues this theme by comparing them to millstones. You can throw seed corn at them, and they are excellent at grinding it into fine white dust.
Again, they are great at processing, at breaking things down, but they can't grow the corn themselves. They transform something living into something inert, like dust.
Now the critique takes a darker turn. He says they are suspicious of each other and wait like spiders for those whose knowledge is weak or walketh on lame feet.
So they're passive, but not just passive. They can be predatory, preying on the intellectual weaknesses of others. That sounds like a very toxic academic environment.
It gets worse. He claims he always saw them prepare their poison with precaution, even wearing glass gloves on their fingers. This suggests a calculated, careful malice.
Wow, so they're not just arguing, they're actively trying to harm others' reputations or ideas, but in a very detached, almost clinical way. He also mentions them playing with false dice.
Yes, he accuses them of intellectual dishonesty, of cheating in their arguments to win. He says their virtues are even more repugnant to him than their falsehoods.
Perhaps he means their supposed virtues, like caution, objectivity, and precision, are just a mask for their lack of courage, passion, and creativity. The virtues are what make them lifeless.
That makes sense. He then says that when he lived among them, he lived above them, and this is why they grew to dislike him.
Exactly. They didn't want to hear anyone walking above their heads, so they tried to block out the sound of his steps, his thoughts, by putting up barriers.
He calls this barrier a false ceiling in their houses, made of all mankind's faults and weaknesses. What is he describing here?
He's saying they would try to dismiss him by focusing on his personal flaws or errors. It's a way to avoid engaging with his challenging ideas by attacking the person.
It's an ad hominem attack, essentially. They build a ceiling of his perceived mistakes so they don't have to look up and confront his higher thoughts.
That's the perfect summary. But he concludes that it doesn't matter. He says, I walk with my thoughts above their heads, and even should I walk on mine own errors, still would I be above them.
So even his mistakes are more valuable and on a higher plane than their correct but lifeless scholarship. It's a bold claim about the value of creative risk-taking.
It leads to his final, very famous and controversial declaration, For men are not equal, so speaketh justice, and what I will, they may not will.